Welcome to another initial impression video, this time featuring the Bard and its new version in Endwalker, where we cannot really talk about a new version due to mostly sticking to old mechanics and systems. But there are some very significant changes that sound insignificant at the first glance but do affect the Bard's overall playstyle a lot. So let me cast this ode of an Endwalking Bard for you. First of all, when looking at single target DPS and rotation, I'm basically seeing many improvements and cool new features and ideas rounding up the Bard of Shadowbringers. Especially the new Apex and Blast Arrow combo finally feel like a new climax inside of your rotation and make them worth timing it into cooldown windows. In contrast to the one in Shadowbringers where we're just releasing it whenever ready, which really didn't feel like a skill worth of a job gauge. But now with these two attacks that in relation to your other kit's power is much more meaningful with a much higher impact. The only thing I would love to see is that either Blast or Apex Arrow could be combined with Barrage, so that you have a much more powerful way of using this in your 2-minute reopener, which is much more powerful than your opener anyways, and this seems to be a design Square's liking a lot when you look at the Reaper as well, for example. The best thing here, it would also make AoE damage much more exciting and would fix one of the big problems I have with the Endwalker Bard, but more to that later. Besides this, we experienced very cool changes to the Bloodletter system. While I like the old one as well, where you had been forced to get your Bloodletter procs out as soon as they happen to prevent overcapping on it. But now under Mage's Ballad, with the reduction of your cool timer through Repertoire procs, this is way more comfortable, but on the other hand removes the feeling of stress and drive behind the whole idea. So it is indeed a mixed bag, determined by what you prefer. If you found the old Bard to be cool due to its many OGCDs and stressful decision making, like can I get out the next Bloodletter before the GCD rolled off or not? Which I really liked. It felt like doing something forbidden and evil when hitting Bloodletter the last 0.5 seconds of your rolling GCD. However, it is definitely more beginner friendly now, and when boss fights are demanding, a Bard has much more space for focus on boss mechanics than on min-maxing Bloodletter timings. And when looking at the Bard's buffs, finally these do all apply to the party and the Bard itself. And I hope to see this being continued with further patches and expansions, because even though Dancer being a thing, the Bard is that job which started support in Final Fantasy XI already, where it could also heal quite nicely if I remember correctly, and in Final Fantasy XIV the supporting aspect was that trait which Bard players might have looked out to. But on the other hand, self-sustain and good personal damage is necessary to meet DPS requirements and for overcoming DPS identity crisis for each player, that may have chosen the Archer unable to know that Bard is what their future leads them to. So having all these buffs applied to oneself again seems to be a good compromise, and helps Bard deal solid numbers on their own while still offering higher supporting values than melee jobs or casters. Radiant Finale therefore is a really solid signature level 90 skill, even though it may not be the most impressive to use for yourself. But that is why we got Blast Arrow on 86, right? Still, there's one change introduced in Endwalker where I'm actually not sure if I like or dislike it. Repertoire and how it's been redesigned. Yes, RNG is getting pumped down significantly with this change, and we mostly have to deal with it on Burst Shot and Refulgent Arrow now, but I have to admit, I really liked how crazy those procs could go with insane crit builds or when dotting multiple enemies. Yes, it had been chaotic, and sometimes handling packs of mobs was a mess, but a bloody mess indeed, which I enjoyed a lot, breaking the usual cycle of clear and calculated rotations on other jobs, where Bard was just like,
introduce a little anarchy.
So they got rid of that and instead now have an 80% chance for a proc every 3 seconds, which is indeed much closer to a guaranteed proc, removing RNG aspects significantly. So hey, at least now things can be planned a bit more precisely. However, this leads me to my biggest gripe with the Bard, and that is how dots are designed now. Yes, I really like the longer duration of them, as I do believe reapplying things is not a funny thing to do, but due to losing half of the potency on each tick they removed significant value of dots, especially when it comes to dungeon pulls or multiple targets. That of course paired with the new system of Repertoire. Yes, on long fights where the full duration can be utilized, these still offer the Bard a solid advantage over the non-cleaving competition. But as basically all jobs now have some sort of damage boost when more enemies come into play, the Bard doesn't feel special in this aspect anymore, which is definitely a bad thing to happen. Specialty and diversity lead to job identity and complexity of things this game has to offer. If we simply play carbon copy classes or jobs, the game becomes boring very quickly, and changing your playstyle and job becomes obsolete. So this basically means for dungeons I might choose other jobs than the Bard, where I actually considered it to be one of the most enjoyable options in Shadowbringers. But on single target fights it does feel much better now, especially with Apex and Blast Arrow and some minor tweaks to Army's Payon, making it useful again. Apart from that, the overall playstyle still feels super rewarding, and with this very good balance of RNG and rotational deviation, I will still put Bard into my top 5 DPS jobs for playstyle enjoyment, and I will always play it from time to time, being a ranged physical and offering all the benefits of that role. However, I still only touched the surface, so here and there I might find finer details to be unveiled over the next course of playing the Bard for my comprehensive job guide coming very soon. Until then, I'm excited to hear your thoughts about this powerhouse of support and rotational variation, so leave down your ideas in the comment section. Thank you for watching, stay safe, stay healthy, and keep loving Final Fantasy.